But you can see just how hard this neighborhood was hit, not only with this street being flooded, but also the neighbors' yards had fences knocked over.
We're actually just getting our first look inside at the crime scene right now. Take a look behind me at how wet the floor is. You can see that the crews were just here about an hour ago cleaning up.
I'll continue to keep track of conditions out here and report back to you as the night goes on.
Mid-Missouri could soon be out of the cold with warmer air moving in for the rest of the week.
They tell me that the woman was hit by the car all the way down by that do not enter sign, and she was either thrown or dragged several hundred feet coming up to this post that's closest to us and landing. Neighbors tell me as soon as the rain started, they heard a loud cracking noise, which is when this tree fell not only on top of, but into this mobile home.
A state lawmaker says as many as 15,000 Missourians still can't sign up for Medicaid benefits despite being eligible. Sharon, as if Mondays aren't hard enough to get out of bed, then you add today's gloomy weather, and it was pretty much impossible.
Kind of overkill. Yeah.
You're not going to believe this, but the suspect actually ran out directly in front of my car as I was on the way to the scene.
We've been telling you about Como Entertainment owner Ben Bradley for months. In an October story, we told you two brides claimed they paid for a party bus that never showed, and they never got refunds. Missouri's 2015 legislative session began today in Jefferson City, and as the lawmakers gathered, so did the protesters. Because the Hit Street parking garage where I'm standing outside of right now is actually technically a campus building, but let me step behind the camera and show you just how close this parking garage is to other campus classroom buildings. You can see Jesse Hall in the distance right there, but even closer is the Mizzou Journalism School.
Temperatures are on the way.
Here on the MoDOT Traveler map, you can see most roads in mid-Missouri are green, which means they are clear. But it looks like it's going to be some humid days, bad hair days.
Yeah, there you go. But you can see the tow truck has come, cleared the crash away, and traffic is now moving smoothly once again.
Oh, that Valentine's Day forecast, it is like forcing people to cuddle up.
Yeah, definitely.
Leave it to Dana.
One of Columbia's most wanted criminals is now behind bars. These grounding wires should run from the top of the utility poles all the way to the bottom. But someone's been coming through and cutting sections from some of the poles. Lucas, the bill actually applies to all the buildings downtown. The Clayton police chief says Schweik died of an apparent suicide with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This all comes just weeks after Schweik announced he was running for governor in Missouri.
It wrapped all the way around the building, and some of those people I talked to said they had even waited around 2 hours to get into the store. Now, as you can see behind me right now, there is a steady stream of people in and out, and
some ice and snow is expected to pile up in some areas, making it dangerous driving conditions.
Right now, the area is still taped off. You can see police are still here. The crime scene unit is still on scene, and police are still guarding the apartment complex door right back there.
Neighbors say this neighborhood is typically a safe and quiet one, so they're shocked anything like these burglaries would be happening here, especially because they're happening in broad daylight.
I'm riding along with Deputy Gabe Edwards right now as he patrols for drunk drivers, and we're along the outskirts of downtown, heading right back into downtown, and so far it's been pretty calm tonight. When we were driving here, we saw a huge crowd outside of Toys R Us as well. So if you're headed out, you're probably going to have to beat with some crowds.
A fire nearly cost the Jefferson City mayor her business.
We'll see you back at 6.
Have a good night. Brandon Terrell turned himself in this morning, first, though, calling the station and asking us to meet him at the jail. So we called the sheriff's department to give them a heads up, and then we went to meet him. Brandon Terrell
It's 5 Paul 91 male, walking him in.
Is now behind bars, and he won't be getting out for some time. Authorities say because of how severely he allegedly beat a woman, his bond is being denied. But before he got here, he talked with me.
It's not true. Yes, she was with me, and yes, but I picked her up from her house, and she drove from her house to where we was at, and we was talking or whatnot, and she just flipped out and took off running, and that was that, you know, and the marks on her face had been there for 5 days now.
But with so many agencies looking for Terrell, I pressed him about the accusations against him.
Have you ever hit her? No, I've not put my hands on that girl. Like, we have been into it, and like I have maybe, you know, like been like a little rough, but I've never did what they're saying I've done at all, and that's all I'm gonna say, man. I've not done nothing to that, no extreme of nothing like that.
Terrell does admit to past domestic assaults.
I'm not a perfect person. I've been into it, and I did my time for whatever I've been convicted of.
Whatever his story may be, it's putting him behind bars for now.
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy, let's go.
I'll have the attorney in the morning, Brandon.
In Boone County, Dana Clemens, ABC 17 News.
Marissa and Joey, it is. Residents and city staff I talked to tonight agree that too many people drive too fast on the street. And it's especially hazardous because there are 2 schools here and many students cross the road. So I checked the problem out for myself. The speed limit sign says 20 miles per hour. But I caught people driving much faster than that.
Traffic has just gotten faster and faster.
Donald Scruggs has lived in the neighborhood for nearly 25 years. He tells me in that time, more students are walking to school and more cars are speeding by them. College Park Drive is actually a 25-mile-per-hour street, except in the school zone, which is 20 during school hours. I came out to College Park around 3:15 this afternoon, which is when the 20-mile-per-hour speed limit would have been in effect during school hours. But I found that the average driver was going 7 miles per hour over that. And the city found people driving even faster than that.
40 miles an hour on the street. There's a lot of cars on this street for a neighborhood, Collector Street, and the speeds of the vehicles are also higher than the speed limit.
Those factors, plus schools, proximity to pedestrian areas like parks, collisions, and bicycle routes, all reasons why College Park Drive is the second highest on the city's list to calm the traffic.
I don't know of many accidents, but boy, the potential is there.
So residents came out tonight and voiced their opinion on how to fix it.
Some people were in favor of bump outs on the street. Other people may have been more in favor of speed humps on the street. And that's feedback we're going to take into consideration, come up with a plan, and come back on February 24th.
Whatever measure is chosen will be funded by the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program. Again, they'll bring their recommendations and opinions to the residents here to vote on February 24th. Reporting live in Columbia, Dana Clemens, ABC 17 News. There are many crime scenes to process, a lot of evidence to pour over, and officer statements to sort through this morning. A job that's now being turned over to the Highway Patrol.
They're going to do all the processing of the crime scene like we would normally do if it was our scene. We have now given it over to them.
It wasn't even dark yet when Mark Adair made his first move last night, waiting in an unsuspecting woman's car to rob her. As she walked out of Mosier's and got into her car, he got his gun ready. He held her at gunpoint and told her to drive away, but she wouldn't, so he hit her in the head. Then he ran off. Columbia police arrived and began their search, quickly learning it was Adair they were looking for.
He'd already done things that made us believe that he was violent. We knew that he was armed.
A convicted felon already wanted for absconding his parole, Adair was no stranger to police. He's a registered sex offender police were warning was armed and dangerous. And then, just as the trail was turning cold, Adair struck again.
It had been spotted at Mojo's, and we confirmed that through finding the car.
That's where police say he tried to carjack another woman. By the time police searched the area, he was gone. Then the calls came flooding in.
We got reports of him being in the area of 9th Street.
Police chased leads on Adair throughout downtown, finally ending at the Hitt Street parking garage, which is when the officer spotted him.
Which there was a shooting to which, as Jill spoke, he's deceased, and our officer has actually been injured and is in the hospital at this time with non-life-threatening activity.
I'm told the injury is to that officer's finger. Now, both officers will be placed on administrative leave until the investigation is complete. Reporting live in Columbia, Dana Clemens, ABC 17 News. Just one day after a mid-Missouri woman is sent to prison for a deadly wrong-way crash, one of the jurors is now speaking out, saying she thinks the jury made a mistake. We first told you last night a judge sentenced Kelly Smith to 5 years in prison. I spoke to the juror, who now says she does not believe Smith is guilty. In a story you'll see only on ABC 17 News, she tells me she felt she had no choice.
I firmly do not believe she was guilty of being put in that situation on her own.
1 month after convicting Kelly Smith, this juror tells me she's regretted the decision ever since.
We all felt like we were being pressured to get this done with.
It was a controversial case from the start. The state says Kelly Smith was drunk when she drove the wrong way down I-70 and hit Thomas Sullivan's car head-on, killing him. But the defense says she was given a date rape drug and raped before the crash.
It was very horrifying knowing the aspects of what might have happened to that girl beforehand.
Her identity is hidden for fear of retaliation, but her message is clear. She feels Smith should not be held responsible.
The person that had given her that date rape drug, I do believe they're the ones who are responsible for that man's death, because they're the ones that put her in that position.
So I asked her why she agreed to a guilty conviction if she didn't believe Smith is guilty.
We had no choice but to claim her to be guilty.
She tells me the 13 hours the jury deliberated were tense. She says the jury left at 2:30 in the morning after the first night of deliberations, and she says they almost all felt Smith was not guilty. But when they came back together the second day and the alternate juror stepped in, she says it was a different story.
Did you guys start deliberations over again?
There was no time. How could we?
Now she tells me she wishes she could take back that decision.
If you had to do it all over again, would you have convicted her?
Oh, no, if I had to do it over again.
The jury was made up of 9 women and 3 men. Montgomery County Prosecutor Nathan Kairos thanked the jury for their work yesterday, saying he felt the jurors made the right decision. Kelly Smith's defense, though, has already filed an appeal.